Hey guys, Matt here. This is my review of Terminator Dark Fate. This movie is directed by Tim Miller, who previously did Deadpool. This movie stars Linda Hamilton, Mackenzie Davis, Natalia Reyes with Gabriel Luna, and Arnold Schwarzenegger. The plot of Terminator Dark Fate is like many of the other Terminator films we've seen before, except for the fourth film, where you have a protagonist, you have a Terminator from the future sent back in time to kill this protagonist because they are essential to the future. But then you also have someone else from the future sent back as a protector, a savior, if you will. And that's what we get here. Only this time, we get Sarah Connor added to the mix. When I heard they were making another Terminator film, I wasn't interested in the slightest. But that changed when Linda Hamilton was announced to be attached to it. Because Terminator Genisys was bad. Real bad. And I was really over the time travel copy and paste we've gotten multiple times. I enjoyed Terminator Salvation because of the direction it took the franchise. And I had a theory before this movie came out as to why it was called Dark Fate. Having seen the movie, I can tell you that Sarah Connor, being back in the franchise, was a good decision. I was half correct in my theory, and I was impressed with the movie overall. Considering this Terminator franchise had more players involved than the rest, let's start with the acting. Mackenzie Davis as Grace, the augmented human character that's sent back to protect Danny. Mackenzie Davis did a really good job, and I was glad to see her as more of a human character because I was tired of the savior Terminators not having personality, just being robots that only told the main characters what they needed to know, and that was it. But Mackenzie Davis as Grace had personality. It was like Kyle Reese again, but female. This time she could hold her own, and she wasn't afraid of getting injured because she was just a brittle human. Nicole Reyes as Danny, the main character in this film, the John Connor, if you will. She was okay. I understand the story arc was supposed to be like the first Terminator film, where she started out scared and afraid of everything, who would eventually become, tough over time, and that was nice. But I feel like each character had like their act or their moments to shine, and then kind of just faded back into the background. And her character was introduced, which was fine. You understood, okay, this is the main character, she's scared, she needs to be protected. But eventually you kind of just forgot about her considering everyone else that became involved. So she was okay. I think she's the weakest part of the actors involved, but for the female John Connor type character, she was okay. Linda Hamilton as Sarah Connor, she's just awesome. And she proves in this why she's essentially one of the matriarchal figures like Ellen Ripley that changed the landscape of empowered female characters. She didn't skip a beat. Linda Hamilton is really good in this movie. And I'm glad we finally got to see her again, because when she wasn't in Terminator 3, I was very disappointed. Also, this movie is Terminator 3 now. This movie ignores Rise of the Machines, Salvation, Genisys, even the show Sarah Connor Chronicles. It ignores all that. This is the official sequel now to Terminator 3. They do something really neat in this movie. They have a flashback where de-aging is used. And I'll tell you what, the de-aging on Linda Hamilton in this movie, very, very good. Gabriel Luna as the Rev 9. He's the bad guy in this film. And it was really neat because he wasn't your typical bad guy. I know every movie they try to change up the villain, like, oh, he's more badass and he's special than the last one. This time he really is. He's like a T-800 with a skeleton on the inside, but when he needs to be, he's also like the T-1000. Granted, he's not as monotone as Robert Patrick was in his delivery. He changes his voice and his inflections and his mannerisms to get out of certain situations. So he was probably the toughest bad guy they've had to face yet. And of course, if you didn't know, you can't have a Terminator film without Arnold Schwarzenegger. He is in this. His story arc is very unique. I would say it's the closest to like Terminator Genisys, where he's been around for a while. He's experienced. So his character wasn't necessarily essential, but it did help the storyline. And I did like, because once he gets into the mix, you have all of these characters teaming up against the Rev 9, so that was really neat. Also, Arnold's funny in this. I know you didn't expect to hear me say that, but he is funny in his delivery. It's not like you're laughing at him because he's intentionally making jokes. You're laughing at him because, as a Terminator, he does certain things that garner laughs. The music in this movie was also very well done. I was disappointed when the first trailer for this movie came out because they didn't use the theme at all. But they use the theme in this movie multiple times, but they also use it very well. They use it at pivotal, at tragic, at dramatic moments, so you really feel the music. Also, the action in this movie is very, very good. Granted, most of the action is towards the beginning and towards the end of the movie, but this action is some of the best, if not the best, in the entire franchise. Yes, the action was limited in the special effects and stuff in Terminator 2, considering what they could do when they made movies, but here, even though a lot of it is CGI, it's pretty impressive. It's fast-paced, especially when you have action scenes involving more than two characters fighting and shooting and blowing things up. This movie also has a seriousness to it, like someone took their time to make a good movie worthy of Terminators 1 and 2. Much like the Alien franchise, you could look at the Terminator films the same way. The first movie is horror sci-fi. The second movie is different in tone, being action sci-fi. This third movie is a nice in between the two genres. It's got two big surprises in it, one much bigger than the other, but also has, in my opinion, the second most emotional ending in the Terminator franchise. Yes, it has a lot of the same beats, elements, events, and pacing like the other movies, but it collects them and presents them here in their own unique way. This movie, as it stands by itself, being contained, is really good. But it's when you put them next to the greats that are 1 and 2 that it kind of creates some issues in the timeline. The only real issue I have with this film, and unfortunately it's the biggest flaw in the movie, is they make a huge, bold decision, and it doesn't pay off. For those of you that are fans of the Alien franchise, all I'm going to say is the biggest gripe people have with Alien 3, they've now brought to the Terminator franchise. They said, hey, you want an American muscle car? Okay, we're going to take away your red Charger, and we're going to give you a purple Mustang. It's kind of similar, but not exactly the same. And it's going to leave you wanting more. And it sacrifices the story in this film because of it. Granted, the movie does some things that the other Terminator films haven't done, but it's like they followed the Halloween franchise and decided, hey, we didn't like the direction the other films were going, so instead of making this a standalone, you could pick this, choose your own adventure type thing, they decided to make it a direct sequel to Terminator 2. They should have followed in the path of the Jurassic Park and Star Wars franchises, where they still honored the originals, they just built on them. But because they decided to say, no, we're going to erase everything that could have happened, that fans could have clung to, and we're going to make our own start. Terminator Dark Fate stands above all the other sequels after Terminator 2. Because all those movies seem to lack substance. Like they were just cashing in on the Terminator name. With Arnold playing a T-800, they're simply to collect a paycheck. So because Terminator Dark Fate is my third favorite Terminator film because of the acting, the drama, the way the music is used, but also the direction they took the storyline, I'm going to give Terminator Dark Fate a B+. So until next time, guys, I'll be back.